Spring has sprung.
Hi, I'm Ivan.
I'm Nick.
And this is the DIY Detail Podcast. Today we're going to go into different strategies to make your car look like it's summer, even though it's just spring. Get rid of that winter fog and mess and all of that to make your car happier and you happier as you're driving it.
I've been smiling. Hopefully you'll be smiling soon because your car's so clean. Look, we do car cleaning videos all the time, car detailing. What's different about a spring clean, Ivan? And what should folks out there know if they're wanting to partake?
Well, depends where you are in the country. If you're in the south right now, it's pollen season. And pollen is a very dangerous thing for your paint. Now, if you're up north, you just got rid of the snow. There's a lot of salt and gravel on the road and sand and all sorts of things. And there's a lot of it on your car as well. So both different strategies, both different things we need to deal with. But let's start with our friends up north that we happen to be up north right now. So salt is the main killer of cars when it comes to rusting out the body. Your first spring cleaning really needs to delve into removing that salt. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. The easiest way, go to the car wash. And a lot of car washes have an undercarriage option, meaning they spray high pressure water underneath your car. Some do with soap, some just use water. You don't really need much more than water. But they'll do that and they'll spray underneath the vehicle and clean that salt off of there.
How often should I get an undercarriage wash? I have never done like rust proofing on the bottom of my car. What should I know about that even before winter starts? And then of course in the spring, we're all thinking about it.
Yeah, get it done in the spring. During the winter, good, bad, doesn't really make that much of a difference. But as the temperature goes up, so does the activity level of the salt. And as humidity in the air goes up, same thing, that activity level of the salt goes up. So when you're driving in winter, it's dry outside. So it's not a concern, not as much of a concern, and it's cold. But now we're getting spring, we're getting May showers, April showers instead of May flowers. So we're getting those April showers, there's a lot of moisture kicking around. That's when that rust starts to take hold because of the salt trying to eat into the metal of your car.
I imagine this is where we talk about water spot remover, or are we just going to talk about going through the car wash and doing the undercarriage? Well, there are the tools that you can also use on your pressure washer.
Yeah, there's a lot. So if you have a pressure washer at home, they're inexpensive and they actually work very well. So you can do that as well. Then for the paint, it's been all winter. You probably didn't wash it as often as you would have liked to in the winter, meaning there's some form of contamination on it. There will definitely be metal contamination. So you'll need to use iron remover. There's bonded contaminants, which can be all sorts of things, from industrial fallout to diesel exhaust to all sorts of particles that just sort of stick to your paint. No matter how well you wash, they're stuck there. That's where the perforated synthetic decontamination towel and the iron remover come in. The double whammy, they're great partners. They love working together. They do their job and they'll decontaminate your paint very well. And then, as Nick mentioned, the final one, our water spot remover. But think of it more as a mineral cleanse in the spring.
I want to talk about the decon towel and iron remover because some have called it the dynamic duo of decontamination.
That's a great way of putting it.
The triple D.
Yes, and it is really. They were designed to work together, both of them. And the reason for that is to save a step, first of all. Secondly, iron remover, if it's just sprayed on the surface, allowed to dwell, and then rinsed off, doesn't really do much. There's a video linked down below where we test iron remover using the spray-on method and iron remover using the decontamination towel method. You'll be able to judge for yourself. But the decontamination towel method with the iron remover works so much better because the decontamination towel is taking that little ball of iron away. And now the iron remover, all it has to deal with is the rust stain.
Okay. I made sure we talked about the dynamic duo of decontamination.
Yes.
But water spot remover, the mineral cleanse process, that's just immediately when you said salt, I'm like, we got to use WSR on the paint.
Yeah.
How and when do we do that, Ivan?
So that should be the last thing you do before drying or using a drying aid. The decontamination process starts with a good hand wash. So we have a good contact wash that's done to the vehicle. Then we next go to the iron remover and the decontamination towel. We finish with the water spot remover. trying to get rid of those minerals off the surface with traffic film in the way, with iron particles in the way, with all sorts of things in the way, just makes it not as effective. So there's a strategy and there's an order to this. We always use the same order in our videos for a reason, because that is the order that all the chemicals work best.
Well, I have C6 Hydrolite on my Subaru Legacy at home.
Yeah.
And I was in a friend's shop and he had a bottle of our water spot remover.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a lot of access to like the things that we do for our standard operating procedure. So what I did was I first pre-treated the paint with water spot remover, hoping that some of the beads would come back, because this vehicle has just been out in the winter all winter, like snow, ice, whatever, ice melt. And so a lot of the beading on the vertical panels is gone.
Right.
So I was like, I'll use water spot remover first.
Yeah.
And I mean, I doused half the bottle on there, and then I rinsed it off, and then I did my contact wash. I did a foam rinse foam with whatever soap they had sitting around. I mean, part of me cringed because it wasn't our stuff.
Yeah.
But the water spot remover didn't make the water beads snap back using that process. I had to do it after the contact wash to see the results I wanted.
Right.
So I realized it was kind of nice. You know, you're doing your R&D in the wild.
Yeah.
I tried it differently in a different order, and you're right. It had to contend with so much, Ivan,
right,
that it was just a waste of my money, essentially, or his
money because you can send him a bottle. But the water spot remover is designed as your last decontamination step before you start protecting.
Okay, so we're working on that. You did mention pollen. There have been a lot of comments on a recent short we put out about how to handle pollen. Some people are like, it's way overkill the way you described it, but how do we tell people to deal with pollen when it's on their car?
Do a Google search of what pollen looks like under a microscope, or maybe Nick, while he's editing, can insert an image here. It doesn't look like a fun little particle, and they are very abrasive. And those of us that suffer with allergies, we really hate pollen. But that being said, the pollen is very aggressive, and it's also acidic when you mix it with water. So meaning if you have pollen in your car and you just try to rinse it off, it's going to actually stick more and it becomes acidic. So there's all sorts of bad things going on when you just try to rinse off pollen. The chemical rinse chemical or the foam rinse foam method for pollen removal is by far the safest for your paint.
So you wouldn't want to just spray on something like waterless wash, which we have a waterless wash and we recommend it for very unique situations, but they're very unique. They're not every situation.
If you washed your car an hour ago and it has that yellowish green tinge of pollen, then yes, maybe that's fine. But if the pollen's been on there for a day or two, no, I wouldn't use that.
Essentially, you're saying just do a proper wash.
Yeah.
If you have pollen on your car, do a proper wash.
Yeah, that's all you need to do. And most importantly, you have 3 or 4 beautiful days. Tomorrow, it's supposed to rain. That's when you want to wash your car, just before it rains, to get that pollen off so that the water doesn't activate that pollen.
Oh, what happens if the water activates it?
It becomes acidic, so it can etch into your paint.
As in, you do the thing that you said not to do, which
right,
is just hit it with water.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think Mother Nature's going to take care of your car. You're like, it's going to rain. It'll wash my car for me.
Mother Nature, yes, during the rain, can be helpful. You know, if you like going out in a rainy day and wash your car and let Mother Nature do the rinsing for you, fine. But just rainwater is not going to wash off contaminants, is not going to wash off pollen, and is not going to wash off a lot of things.
What else do we need to think about with spring cleaning, Ivan, that might be different from just an average day in the detail bay?
Open up those doors, put the windows down, and vacuum out your interior. Dust out your interior. Get all that dust out of there.
Why windows down?
Just for the fun of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, get more airflow in there. It's warm. It's your first spring day. You want to get as much air as you can.
I can buy into that.
Yeah.
So when we talk about interior detailing, we always want to remove these dry particulates first before we introduce any chemicals and get mud going on in there. So yeah, if you have forced air, air compressor, leaf blower, anything that will help push the stuff out of the doors, that's why you said open up all the doors, right?
Open up all the doors. I like to start at the back of the vehicle and blow forward. So that stuff that got dropped under the seat will end up in front of the seat. Easy to vacuum away. Between the dash and the console, that stray McDonald's fry might still be in there. The leaf blower, the compressed air will get it out of there. You want to be as dry as possible on the interior until you have to use liquid. So we want to vacuum, we want to dust, we want to get as much of that out as possible before we add liquid. Now, for myself being from Quebec, We use a lot of salt on the roads. And a lot of salt on the roads combined with floor mats ends up being a nice ring of salt just around that floor mat. And that nice ring of salt, we have a tool to get rid of that. We have a chemical to get rid of that, and that is All Clean. All Clean diluted 30-1. And on the salt ring, if it's very heavy, 15-1, but that's the only place in the interior I'd use it that strong. And you don't want to spray the bottle here and the salt ring there. You want to have them touching each other.
Almost like when you do interior ceramic and you spray it right onto the foam of the applicator.
So you're spraying it right onto the salt ring, or just quarter inch above the salt ring so it works down below that salt ring. Then from there, let it dwell while you wash the outside or you finish vacuuming or wiping down the dash and all that. As it's doing that, it's breaking down that salt, and it should, for all intents and purposes, vacuum away at that point.
Okay, and so you want it to dry though before you go after it with a vacuum?
You can let it dry, yes.
Yeah. Air movers are helpful if you get the interior too wet. And Ivan's always said, if you get an interior too wet, you got to dry it out, or whatever you introduce in terms of moisture, you have to remove.
Every drop you put in, you have to take out.
Yeah, and I've always been a fan of, the extractor and hot water extractor for great interior detailing. Just picked up a Jeep, and I never knew this, that there were cloth seats that had heated seats. I always assumed the cloth seats were the lower budget option of the cars, so the heated seats were leather. This Jeep has heated seats, and I'm like, why would I put an extractor on something that has heated seats, sensors and everything? I'm like, now I'm getting it. It's like, it can get dangerous of getting too much moisture in a vehicle.
Right, because seats now have airbags in them. They have occupancy sensors. They have seat heaters. They have fans in them for cooling as well. All things that don't appreciate moisture. So the old school way of getting out the extractor may not be the best, and definitely not the safest. There are ways to dry extract fabrics, and that's very simple. Get your polisher, be it a rotary or DA, but a rotary is better with this, with a wool pad, spray a bit of rinseless on the wool pad, and literally polish the seat. Low speed, no pressure, 1 or 2 passes. The seat's going to dry very quickly, but you've dry extracted, or the bonnet method of cleaning. It's used in upholstery shops. It's used for household upholstery cleaners as well. They use the bonnet method a lot, and that is some form of agitation on something that's very absorbent, and a wool pad is very absorbent.
Why not interior clean and protect instead of rinses?
Like, that works too. Yeah.
Because that's the way that we've done it in the past.
Yeah.
I still have, my heart is in the janitorial carpet cleaning world, which is a little bit of my background, and I do love hot water extraction, but I know that it introduces a lot of moisture, so if you're not ready for it and you're like, I don't know what machine to buy and what chemical to use, our lineup suits the interior detailing very well.
Right.
It's not all I still have my preferences in that world.
Oh yeah.
It's a rabbit hole that I've gone down on many videos.
He dug his own hole, never mind.
I dug my own hole, and I never made, great profits doing it this way, but I was achieving the results that I was going after that no one else could see. But the bonnet method works really great. So you want to use a old school 1970s, I'm cutting, lacquer paint with a rotary, that kind of a wool?
That wool pad works great. Our wool pad works great as well.
Okay, it does.
But the big old school pads with the curved up edges actually work very well for that.
Yeah, you've been teaching that method for a long time.
But use an old one. You don't want to use a new one because it'll look like a sheep exploded inside your vehicle.
If you ever used a new wool pad, they always shed a little bit the first time. We've done it on camera a couple times. No, there's nothing wrong with the pad. It's just brand new.
Yeah. A microfiber pad can also work in this instance.
What else are folks going to encounter, after a long winter?
Well, I mentioned the salt and the sand on the road. You can have sand in your carpets. Same thing. Now, the best way to get sand out of carpets is vibration. If you have one of those, what they call a massage gun, it's like a little jackhammer to get the knots out of your back. Those are great for carpet cleaning. Just aim it at the carpet, let it bounce, and when it's doing that, you'll see the sand just float up to the top of the carpet. You can vacuum it away.
We've set a dual action polisher on the carpet
side,
floor mat on its side. Just be careful, the backing plate can, if you just sit on its side, can kind of dig into the carpet if you set it too long.
Yeah, not something you want to do. It's all we had that created a vibration at the time, but those little massage guns you can pick up at the dollar store or whatever, they actually do a very good job for that. So that's one way of doing it. But you want to introduce vibration to get particles or sand out of that carpet.
I also want to talk about as we transition into like much sunnier days, right? The sun is super powerful. We all know about it.
Yeah.
How can folks think about not only cleaning after the winter, but then hedging against a lot of UV, right? So working on protecting their plastics and just getting ready to enjoy sun and summer without worrying about their beautiful vehicle, sustaining some damage.
Right. So on the outside of the vehicle, we have wax, we have sealants, and we have ceramic coatings. In that order. Wax is the least durable of the bunch. Sealants like ceramic gloss and quick beads are going to last longer, and then we have ceramic coatings. Going to last much, much longer. You won't need to do it every year. Those are the options when it comes to protecting the outside of the vehicle. When it comes to protecting the inside, we have our interior ceramic, but we have another secret weapon in our lineup, and that is interior clean and protect. The protect doesn't mean it's a nice greasy film over everything that makes everything shiny. No, it protects against static. So it's anti-static, and it has UV protection. UV protection, by the way, inside of a car is really not that important unless you're driving convertible. But if you are driving convertible, you need UV protection if the top is down. The anti-static part of it, though, is phenomenal. What it does, it prevents that dust from building up as quickly on the interior. So you won't need to clean it as often. You're still going to need to clean your interior once in a while, but not as often.
Okay, so interior ceramic, how do I prep for that? Some might ask.
Interior ceramic, you can either use rinseless wash to prep for it or interior clean and protect. They both work to do that. Rinseless wash is a little more powerful when it comes to cleaning. So if it's been neglected all winter, then I might opt for rinseless wash. If not, the interior clean and protect, still a great option.
And it doesn't leave something like too sustained behind
No.
that would prevent the interior ceramic from bonding?
No. So we're always improving things. And interior ceramic went through an improvement about 1.5 years ago. We didn't announce it from the treetops that we have version 2, it's just there. And the version 2 is designed to be more compatible with interior clean and protect. The first version, there might have been a little incompatibility if someone used too much interior clean and protect. But other than that, But other than that, it was fine. But now the new ceramic, the new interior ceramic can deal with that.
I want to talk about how dirty paint gets.
Yes.
And how polishing paint isn't always about removing the appearance of scratches, but it's really about a deep clean.
Yes.
Is now the time when we could, not because I'm trying to remove any clear coat, but because I'm trying to deeply clean my paint, could I hit it with a polishing pad and some really kind of light abrasiveness just to deep clean?
Yes.
And I'm thinking like I want to do this every year. So like what is the thing that I could do if I'm going to do it every spring cleaning?
So a short stroke DA.
What does that mean to folks?
Like a palm sander. If you've never polished paint before, this is a very easy way to polish paint that's 99.9% foolproof. You'd have to try to make a mistake with this.
Yeah, this is very true.
Yeah. So our red jeweling pad, a bit of gold standard polish, and a random orbital sander. That's all you need. It's going to brighten up your paint. It has a bit of abrasive to it, so it will remove some of those little love marks that you got over the winter, but it's not going to do much more than that. If you have a coated car and you want to brighten it up a little bit, it's looking a little dull, then we have C6 app, our adhesion promoter polish. The polish part of it is extremely mild. We say there's abrasives in it. Think of it as they accidentally put just a little bit of abrasive. Oh, we shouldn't do that. No, there are abrasives in it. It's not an accident, but they're not abrasive enough or they're not concentrated enough to damage a coating. But they're great for cleaning up a coating.
Yeah, it's a good combination to brighten up your paint. Again, that's what I'm talking about. Just if you feel like there's just like some kind of film that doesn't come off in the wash process and the decon, there's just some stuff around the edges of your windshield or just around emblems that it just needs some spring cleaning love.
Yes.
Sometimes just a light polishing pass or two is a great way to just give your vehicle a refresh and then put your last step protection product on after.
Yeah.
So whether it's adhesion promoter polish or gold standard polish using the red pad, it's going to be mild either way.
Yeah.
And either way afterwards, you can protect after. You could do your wax, you could do your gold standard polish, and then do a coating. You could also just do what I love, which is like ceramic gloss.
Yeah. Any of those work. They work very well, and they're going to give you the protection that you want. Of course, the higher up you go, the longer the protection. So wax, short term, ceramic gloss, medium term, and coatings, long term.
What about like taking wheels off the car? Is now the time to, get the wheels off and deep clean the barrels? Is that a spring cleaning tradition in the LaCroix household?
It actually is, because we have winter wheels and we have summer wheels. So we take our winter wheels off, clean them. In the fall, when we took our summer wheels off, we clean them, put them away, ready for spring. So now we just have unbolt them, bolt the summer wheels on. They're already clean, ready to go.
If someone's never unbolted a wheel before, what do they need to know?
You can go on YouTube and find out how to do it. But basically, be safe. If you're not sure what you're doing, find someone who is, get a good jack, get a good wrench, and get a torque wrench for putting them back on. And once you've put those wheels on, a couple, 50 to 100 miles later, check your torque again.
That's what tire shops are supposed to do.
Yes.
I've never had one that did that.
Yeah, they're supposed to. And you as a car owner, you should as well.
Okay. What else is important to talk about in the spring? I know a lot of folks in the honeymoon phase of their vehicle ownership are going to love this, right? Because it's a brand new car, maybe. It's within the last year they got it. They're trying to keep it nice. There's also folks who've had their car for years and they might be a little more down in the dumps about what's possible with their vehicle.
Right. Another thing to do in the spring is clean your engine. That's a good way to, make sure you got all the salt out from around there, because salt inside the engine bay, and yes, it does get in there, can be very damaging to electrical connectors, to all sorts of things. It can cause oxidation on all the terminals, and you can see it as sort of a greenish, grayish fuzz on some of the connectors. That is that's a form of corrosion. By cleaning it, by getting the salt off of it, you're going to mitigate and reduce the possibility of that corrosion.
I had always thought engine bay detailing was almost more of a cosmetic thing, but it sounds like there's a real reason you might want to consider it around springtime.
Yeah, and be careful. If you're not sure what you're doing, again, we have several videos on the channel and other people have videos. Be safe, don't have the engine running, things like that. There's fans, there's belts, there's all sorts of things moving. You don't want to do that. And if you're going to be cleaning the engine, do that first, because there's going to be a bit of overspray on the paint. You want to, do the engine first, then clean the outside.
Do the engine first, then clean the outside.
Yep.
Then in what order would you do the interior if you were, just doing a big spring cleaning? You want to do it all in a day.
Yeah. Start by vacuuming up the loose stuff, getting the garbage out of the car. The stuff that it didn't come with the car, get it out of the car. You can put it back in afterwards, but make sure, you accumulate stuff over time. So look in those door pockets, and that little bottle doesn't need to be there anymore, and that empty wrapper and things like that. So clean all that up. Do a good vacuum, a blowout if you can, if you have that tool. Then start wiping down all your plastics, your seats, cleaning that up. Finish by vacuuming the carpet again, and you're good to go.
I was going to ask if folks should do the interior before the engine or after the exterior. Does it matter which direction you go in terms of interior first or exterior?
No difference whatsoever. Now, one other thing, when you're cleaning your interior, this is the time to get some crystal clear and just make that glass spotless. That windshield that's been there all winter long. And one thing that a lot of people unfortunately have in their cars that I'm not a fan of, those vent clips.
Oh, because they add a lot of, oily,
greasy
stuff to the window that ends up going on there?
Yeah, they actually put oil into the air of your car. Now, it's good smelling oil, but it gets over everything, and that attracts more dust. It coats the windows. It makes the windows hard to clean, etc., etc., etc. Think of it as your car vaping. That's basically what it's doing. An oil, air passing through it, it's atomizing it. That's what vaping is. Your car is vaping you as you're driving it if you have those little vent clips.
I don't even care for how they smell, Ivan, so I don't want them anywhere near my car. Nick's favorite glass towel pairs excellent with crystal clear.
Yep.
I like to have a couple of Nick's favorite glass towel.
And he's not talking in the third person. It's just that's the name of the towel.
Yeah, it's an excellent glass cleaning towel. If you know, write in the comments below. But I'll spray on the glass towel and I'll do my first pass, and then I'm constantly moving to clean sides. So what folks struggle with a lot, and you have your own strategy on cleaning glass, but what folks struggle with a lot is they're moving around a lot of the gunk on that interior windshield. The side windows are easy. The interior windshield is always the hardest. It's the last thing you do. You're tired. You're losing focus. Always use a clean side of your towel. You launder your glass towels separately. You hang dry them. You launder them with a proper microfiber detergent, and then you put them on the cold cycle and you air dry them. You keep them in a sacrosanct place. You put them in a bin that doesn't ever get particles from your garage or your shop. Take care of your glass towels. Use clean sides constantly. And worst case scenario, if Crystal Clear ain't cutting it, which it should, a couple sprays of panel prep for your final couple wipes to get those streaks in the little corners, and then use a light source coming at you as you're in the interior windshield doing this. Put like a light if you can. Look at a light at the top of your garage, a light on a tripod or something.
Or outside the sun.
Or outside the sun, exactly, for that final sunlight check.
Yeah.
That's a great way. Go outside, have the sun beaming down, and you'll see all this stuff. Because the worst thing is you're driving into the west at 5 p.m., and you can't see because you're blinded by all these streaks. It could be a safety thing.
It is, yeah. And final thing, you've protected your car, you've done all of that. Put a glass coating on the windshield or put something on the windshield, because in the spring it rains a lot.
Yes.
And you want that ease of vision to happen for you. If you've ever driven with a coating on your glass, you know that when you drive a car without coating on the windows, you want to stop at the side of the road and put it on right now. It's just annoying to drive a vehicle without a coating on the window.
Ivan, if folks are curious about installing a glass coating,
yes,
we have C6 Hydro Glass. We have a video on before and after, what it looks like, what it doesn't, how to install it, everything you need to know about keeping that windshield coated and beating in the rain. We have the whole tutorial.
Yes.
And that video is right here.